On Friday evening, it was sadly confirmed that the Princess of Wales is undergoing cancer treatment. It comes after several weeks and months of speculation about her whereabouts, her health, when she'll be returning to the public eye and public events. And it's all been to a backdrop of conspiracy theories that have consumed social media and various TikTok accounts and videos to the point that the Kensington Palace seemed to be sort of fumbling this sort of basic PR strategy about the well-being and health of Kate Middleton, to the point that they put out a photo, infamous photo on Mother's Day, which had numerous edits made to it, and has now, uh, if anything, it helped generate more speculation about what's happened. But now it's all sadly come to a head. Well, it has been confirmed that she is in the early stages of treatment after cancer was found in tests. Now, it's from what we know is that, of course, that mid-January she had scheduled abdominal surgery, and she would be in hospital for 10 to 14 days. Prince William went in and saw her to check in on her. She then left hospital at the end of January to continue her recovery at home. Um, it was probably around this point as well they found cancerous cells, and that's not to speculate, but reading the statement, which I will pick up in a moment. Uh, it, that's when it all came about, and then only when she'd recovered from this abdominal surgery, she would be able to undergo this cancerous treatment. But in the backdrop of all this, there's been, and even though Kensington Palace said she probably won't be attending public events until after Easter, which is March 31st, there's still been a lot of speculation about what's happening. There was a lack of clarity about um, health updates. There was no sign of when she'll be back, at events. There was the she'd be at the Troop and the Colour. That event popped up, and then that was swiftly removed when he was pointed out on social media and in the press. And there was just a lack of clarity, which seemed to imply enough, something was not right. And it was a PR strategy that just didn't really work. The sort of strategy that Kingston Palace had was, we'll tell you when there's an update. And then obviously we had in last week about her and William going to that Windsor farm shop. A video that was taken by a bystander, sold it to the Sun, made international news, in that everything is fine. Let's stop worrying about it. But of course, today we have now had the news that she unfortunately has cancer and is undergoing treatment. Now, it was a part of a coordinated uh, action from Kensington Palace. Usually, when it comes to royal announcements, it's all embargoed, especially health updates. It's embargoed to a certain time. It's to allow broadcasters and media and various, obviously their own internal social media accounts to be in sync somewhat so they can announce this news. And if you're not aware what an embargo is, usually an organization may say to you, we've got a story here, we don't want it public until, say, midnight on Monday, March 31st. And you can, media outlets and journalists would prep stories around it if it's just a basic press release. But in the case of this, there's multiple layers around it. And you're not allowed to say anything about it until after the embargo has been lifted. So what happened here, and it's not me with insider knowledge, so to speak, but you can sort of see from, well, if we take the BBC's coverage, for example, this was their front page at 6 p.m. today, where they've got the initial story, so obviously Kingston Palace shared the statement and a transcript of the video, which you can just see just down here. So then a journalist could write a story about it. And then you've got the statement of full. That's another story that a lot of outlets have written around and just including it in full because it's quite a poignant, quite a positive speech. Um, and as someone who has a family member with cancer, it's she struck the right chord, and you do naturally feel empathy for her. And then, obviously, as it's a rolling news story breaking, we have got a live blog here. So, and this is the sort of process that a lot of newsrooms would go through when it comes to dealing with embargoed big stories like these, where they would have pre-planned content. It's usually also seen with like the king's honors, who's been knighted, who's been given OBEs and all that. That's all embargoed well in advance so that various media organizations can do their own version of the story, but also maybe line up some interviews. But in case of this, from my understanding, it was really a case of outlets were given a copy of the transcripts and also an operational note just confirming what it is. They didn't say any off the record stuff. And it allowed a lot of outlets to be able to run on that coverage. And of course, a lot of people now, a lot of outlets are using the speech she shared as well. So you can see why there's been a coordinated response. And as you can see on the screen right now, you've got the statement in full, which basically just talks over what I've said. But it sort of feels like, with the conspiracy theories and obviously then the media picking up on these conspiracy theories, but also the delicate nature the UK press have had to cover it. They've had to really be careful of this, and I think it's sort of in a way forced Kingston Palace's hand. I mean, you only have to look at um, TikTok here, and obviously we got the Daily Mail's video about the cancer diagnosis, but you can see here, and I'm not going to blur them, but you can see even in the last 24 hours, a lot of conspiracy theories about Kate Middleton, William. There have been a lot of conspiracy theories about the state of their marriage, possible affair, which I'm not going to go into further details about because I don't want to get sued. Um, Serious health issues. Is there more wider issues at play here? And you can even see it on Reddit as well. And even saying why are they hiding the truth about Kate Middleton when it was, I think, the public's understanding of the situation was very much, I think she is okay. She's just fine. She's recovering from whatever she has, and hopefully she'll be back soon. But now, obviously, the rampant speculation fueled by the lack of updates from Kensington Palace, conspiracy theories picking it up, and then the lack of clarity, the Mother's Day photo, and all these other things, and obviously the shot of them in the Windsor farm shop as well. That sort of then fuels some speculation about what's actually going on here. And usually, when you can speak to press officers, you get off the record steer, but we didn't. From my understanding and reading into it, I didn't really think we had that from this case, unfortunately. But yeah, so it's a really interesting story, and it was one I was when I got announced that Kate Middleton had cancer and she was undergoing treatment. I was deep into an edit about this very subject of why is this Kate Middleton mystery taking over social media and the mainstream media, because and they sort of fed off each other, and it's been an interesting few weeks really, but really it's been a case of the last few weeks we've seen the conspiracy theories, but we've seen the jokes that just there for the memes, the jokes about her just, being on a Masked Singer or getting a Brazilian butt lift or whatever. those are memes, and people, I think people will maybe buy in more into it. But you could go onto social media, and I think even for me, I saw I have two accounts, one work, one personal, but I could see that even on the For Your page, which suggests you stuff you might be interested in, there was Kate Middleton conspiracy theories on those tabs, and it sort of made me sort of realize how engulfed social media had been, you know, by the story, and how engrossed it was. Um, and this is what sort of speaks to the relationship between royal family and the media. So for example, if you look at, say, the relationship between the British media and the royal family, well, it's complicated for various reasons. I would really be keen to explore this in a future video, but to give you the basics, there's at least an understanding between the royal family and the British media of what is happening with the royal family and whether they can confirm or deny rumors they've heard. Obviously, we get operational notes, which can basically be like Camilla's going to visit this city on on the morning of April 15th or whatever, and she's going to do this. She's going to visit this place. She's going to meet all these people. She's going to be having some photo opportunities. Blah blah blah. You get those well in advance, and you sort of journalists are taking on like a railroad tour of those. I've done a TikTok video about it, but largely about the royal family, they really have probably the most strongest PR communication teams in the world, really, arguably, because they can control the narrative about individuals' royal family and the overall picture of the royal family and what they feed to the press and what they don't feed to the press. Obviously, this has taken a hit in recent years for various reasons. But it's interesting with the British media and the royal family. But if you compare that relationship with, say, social media and the royal family, they don't have the sort of same relationship. They don't have this respect or this understanding. And I've read between the lines, like the royal family's communications team doesn't simply call up Mark Zuckerberg to ask him to cool it on those conspiracy theory posts about Kate Middleton, or they can't just like text or email Elon Musk to, suppress those sort of posts as well about Kate Middleton on X or Twitter as it was used to be called. And that's what's helped fuel it. And then it's just been this recurring cycle. There's been a lust of updates on Kate Middleton. You can only look at, I think editors look at social media trends, Google trends, or their own internal page view charts to gauge how invested people are into this story. And I think when news outlets see that more and more people are craving stories about Kate Middleton, like cats at dinner time, they'll publish more stories about this. And while I think the UK media is very careful what they say about the royal family for historic reasons and libel reasons, because we have quite strict libel rules in the country, it's also the royal family doesn't have the same sort of relationship um, with global media as well. So that's why global media, for example, they've been using. There's been two paparazzi photos of Kate Middleton. I think one was obviously with her and her mother in a Range Rover, and that was used globally, and people picked up on it. But the British media didn't, and that's really because British media tend not to pay for to use photos taken by paparazzi based on ethical grounds. And again, they sort of learned that the hard way. And in fact, in that instance, a lot of royal reporters were sharing on social media how, for example, they exerted huge pressure on the British media not to publish the pic. So that shows the difference in relationship between the British media and international media. International media would treat this more as like a celebrity story, whereas the British media is with the royal family, it's a more of a ethical and protecting an institution, so to speak. So really, that's why this sort of story has played out the way it has, unfortunately, um, and it's why now it's dominating the news cycle. It's a coordinated uh, campaign this about Kate Middleton's health update, and really that, and we're just learning more about it as it comes in, really. And I suppose there'll probably be maybe more updates here, but there's been a lack of clarity that fueled a lot of conspiracy theories that's pushed this from happening. And really, it'll be interesting to see what happens next. It's really sad that the conspiracy theories have sort of caused this to happen, but hopefully this would stop it from happening. There's a lot of talk when it comes to conspiracy theorists that they're actors. That's not the same person. I've seen one or two posts already talk about that on social media. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes forward. But I would be very keen to see what people's thoughts are about this whole how this issue, how this story about Kate Middleton was covered within the media. And if you've got any thoughts, share them in the comments below. If you can share a like, that'd be much appreciated. And of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel because that'd be great. And this is this is a journalism channel which I like to discuss the journalism industry and why stories get certain coverage. And in the top left corner, hopefully you'll see a video about ads and how they're ruining news websites. And maybe in the bottom corner, you'll see something else you might be interested in. And hopefully I'll get to see you again here soon. Take care.